G'day guys, I'm Matt Brand, and this is the 2020 Renault Megane RS Trophy. The Renault Megane is the forgotten super hatch. It is one of the fastest front-wheel drive hot hatches you can buy. Yes, it is just as fast to 100 kilometers an hour as a Civic Type R. It's also incredibly agile and nimble. It has an insanely premium interior. And get this, it costs pretty much the exact same, a little bit less even, than the Civic Type R. I know I love a lot of cars, but this one, it shocked me. And you need to hear about it. It might just be better than a Type R. You'll see why. Now, if you are new around here, please do go down there and hit the subscribe button. I release an awesome new car review every single week. And also while you're down there, hit the thumbs up button. It really helps small content creators like me. I've also left timestamps down in the description below, so if you want to skip ahead to any part of the video, feel free to do so. All right, let's get straight into it. Now, it's hard to make a car look unique in the hot hatch segment because seemingly everything already exists. But gosh, this is posh. Let's start with my favorite angle, the front. The first thing that will grab your attention are the headlights. They have the coolest daytime running lights, I think, on any hot hatch. They're huge, they wrap around the headlights, and they also act as the turning signal. The lights themselves are very functional, fully LED, low beam, high beam, they look great. And speaking of lights, we can't not talk about the checkered race flag looking fog lights down the bottom. Again, such a cool look. And it's a look the new Volkswagen GTI has effectively copied, pasted, and added another two. If Volkswagen are doing it on the GTI, you know it's a good touch. The grille is actually surprisingly small. There is a very small RS badge within that too. And the front splitter down the bottom, aptly called the F1 blade, is very cool, especially with the trophy name spelt out within that, because this is the Megane RS Trophy. Moving to the side, and the side for me just screams French car. I can't quite put my finger on why. It just looks like a French hatch. But that's not a bad thing. This has to be one of the most hatch-looking hot hatches in the segment. And to be honest, it's a bit of a sleeper from the side. You really have to look to notice that it's a hot hatch. Well, except for a couple of small details. For example, look at the 19-inch wheels with their red and just multi-tone design. I don't know how I feel about the red, to be honest. It's probably the first wheel design that hasn't grown on me so much, but my partner loves it, so maybe it is cool. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. They do have big red Brembo brakes, which of course are obligatory and very cool. Beside the front fenders, which are flared by the way, there are a couple of fake vents cut into them, which would fool you because you really have to put your finger in there to realize they're fake. And of course, the rear wheels are flared too. This is a wide looking car. It's got a very wide stance and a big presence on the road, which I think is great. Oh. Insane. Otherwise, there are some sharp edges, creases, you know, the usual. Of course, there is the rear, which is my second favorite angle of the Megane. And for the same reason as the front, the rear lights are really cool. You've got almost a light bar, like they want to touch, but they can't quite get there. Up top is an obligatory roof spoiler, but it's tasteful. It's certainly not out there or outlandish or in your face. Down the bottom is a ginormous rear diffuser, absolutely massive. But even cooler than that, within that rear diffuser is the exhaust. Well, it's actually a couple of real dual exhausts within a fake surround, but this valved exhaust sounds magical. Take a listen for yourself. I think my favorite part of the Megane RS's looks is the fact that it can be a sleeper for most people out there. You look at it, at first glance, most people won't know that this is an insanely capable hot hatch. Even in this beautiful liquid yellow paint. I love that name, by the way. But you wouldn't know unless you know. The Megane RS has to be, in my opinion, the most elegant of hot hatches. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. What do you think looks better? Do you prefer the looks of the Renault Megane RS Trophy, or do you prefer the looks of the Civic Type R? Very, very different approaches to design those cars. One's meant to fly under the radar, one's meant to be the radar. So definitely go down into the comment section below and cast your votes now. Now let's move on to the interior, and I want to start with the overall look, layout, and feel. Just like the outside, at first glance, the inside is a bit of a sleeper. And that is to say that it's a bit drab, a bit dark, a little bit boring. Yes, it is a sea of dark materials in here with a bit of red stitching thrown about the place. But boy, are the materials that they've put in here just lovely. Everywhere you touch is soft touch materials. You almost have to go looking for the hard, scratchy plastic. There are some questionable choices of materials. For example, this like plastic carbon fiber looking thing. It's like padded. I have no idea how you would describe it. It's a little bit cheesy, a little bit tacky. But just as you would expect from a European hatch, there is Alcantara everywhere. I'm talking about the seats, I'm talking about the steering wheel, I'm talking about the center armrest. Oh, oh, totally unnecessary, but totally cool too. It feels super, super premium here, especially for a hatch, let's be honest. In terms of ergonomics and practicality, well, I'm extremely comfortable. I can get the steering wheel into the perfect position for me. It is tilting, telescoping. The seat is manually adjusting, but it adjusts easily. In terms of I/O, there's a 12-volt socket, 2 USB ports, and 1 auxiliary jack. Storage is pretty good too. There's a center armrest, of course, which is, by the way, adjusting, and it has enough space within it. There's also this smart cubby that you can hide up to keep the interior looking a bit more clean, and it's smart because it has a movable cup holder adjustment thingamajig. God, I'm horrible with my English today. It's also got what happens to be the world's shallowest and probably most pointless storage area here, which I guess fits the almost as pointless key. I say it's pointless because it's meant to be a card key, but it's about 13 times thicker than a credit card, so it doesn't fit in a wallet, and it doesn't fit on a keychain either. There's nowhere to put it, so it just stays in my bag all the time. And it doesn't fit there either, by the way. Of course, there's a storage space for your phone, and the glove box is a decent size. Excuse me here while I give it some sauce. Oh. Oh. Guys, I have chills. I actually have chills. This car is insane. Speaking of insane, look at these seats. They are completely Alcantara. Completely Alcantara. And my God, they are so comfortable. Now, my biggest complaint is, well, one, they're manually adjusting. I don't care too much about that, but what I care about is there's no lumbar support. Give me lumbar support. Though thankfully, I haven't found myself getting uncomfortable in these seats. My back feels fine, so it's a pass for now. And even though they look really scary in terms of how much they would grab you, they don't really. They actually leave a lot of room. I'm a pretty thick guy, i.e. wide, and you know, they're fine. In fact, they're more than fine. I love them, especially the design. I think they look so cool. Very premium. And also the seats are heated. Moving on now, and that's the steering wheel. Yes, this Alcantara and Napa leather steering wheel. I'm sure you can guess, but this thing is awesome. Well, kind of. In terms of functionality, on the left-hand side, you have your cruise controls. On the right-hand side, you have your phone controls and your digital instrument controls. Behind the steering wheel as well, you have your media controls, which at first is a bit weird to use, but the learning curve, once you get over that, it's actually really intuitive and easy to use. The reason I'm not a huge fan of the steering wheel is because for whatever reason, Renault have decided to split the cruise control. So you turn it on in the center console and then you adjust it in the steering wheel. Why can't they just have it both on the steering wheel? It makes it so hard to use. What are great are the column mounted metal pedals for upshifting and downshifting. Wow, they feel so good, especially when you pull them. I wish they went down a little bit more. They go up, but my hands are often lower on the steering wheel than higher, so that can be a bit frustrating, but otherwise, love it. Moving on to the digital instrument cluster, and again, they are so cool. No, it's not the most functional out there. You can't display maps or things like that. In fact, the control you have over it is very limited, but it is very customizable in the way that it displays that information. Depending on what driving mode you are in, it will change. You can change the color of it if you are in personalized mode between 5 different colors. But my favorite mode is race mode, which gives you a Formula 1 style tack right in the center. It's so cool. Well, I say tack. At the top is the tack and the center is the speed, so it's kind of reversed to how they probably would have it in the Formula One, but it's still very cool. Moving on to this 8.7-inch portrait infotainment screen, i.e. it's upright instead of being sideways. It's easy enough to use. Graphics are sharp. It is a little bit slow at times, but it's all right. It is very functional, coming with digital radio, navigation, Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay, which is all you ever need. Also connected to the infotainment screen is an 8-speaker Bose sound system, which I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit average. There is also an app called RS Monitor, which is very cool. It uses 40 different sensors from across the car to display just every piece of information you could ever think of. That's a really cool, nifty feature. But what isn't a cool, nifty feature is how they've integrated the air conditioning into these controls. You see, you do get some air conditioning controls, but you get about half of what you actually need. So you can change the temperature here, but you can't change the fan speed. You can only turn it to auto. No, if you want to do that, you have to go into the infotainment system, swipe to the screen, and then play around with it. I hate that. I really, really hate that. It takes your eyes off the road. It's not good. And also the physical air conditioning controls feel really cheap. A really nasty kind of plastic. I don't like that. But that's the worst part of the interior. Everything else is pretty awesome. Quickly talking about the rear seats, and yes, they are entirely Alcantara, just like the front. I have enough legroom back there, and I have enough headroom too. It's decently practical too, because you do get dual air vents back there, and also you get a 12-volt socket. So it's a nice place to be. For boot space with the rear seats up, you get a very respectable 434 liters of boot space. Put the rear seats down and you get 1,247 liters of boot space. So yeah, you get plenty. Of course, what you want to know is, how does the Renault Megane RS Trophy, how does it drive? Me. Drives really well. The RS Trophy is powered by a 1.8 litre 4-cylinder engine. There was cops next to me. It always scares the shit out of me. It's a humbling experience. But that 1.8 litre engine pumps out 221 kilowatt of power and 420 Newton meters of torque. This actually has the highest tune for this engine out of all Meganes you can get. And the manual gets 20 Newton meters less torque, so it's 400 instead of 420. All of that power is sent through the front wheels via a 6-speed dual clutch transmission, or as Renault likes to call it, an EDC, or efficient dual clutch. And you know what? I'm gonna let them have that marketing term. It is an efficient dual clutch, not for fuel economy, that's awful, we'll get onto that, but it's awesome at just getting rid of all the issues that other DCTs have. A major one of those is hesitation at low speed, which this does not have. It really does combine what feels like the best of a torque converter and a dual clutch, and upshifts are like that. Now, whether you're a team manual or team auto, that's up to you, but the reason it's in here is because the reality is that's what most consumers demand. A lot of people can't drive manual anymore, and the execution is so good in the Megane RS Trophy that I don't mind. This 0 to 100 or 0 to 62 miles an hour is, it's 5.7 seconds. Wow, this thing is fast. Now that's as fast as a Civic Type R, which is railed to be the fastest hot hatch. And a lot of people especially say it is the absolute #1 fastest, even though this is pretty much the same for a front-wheel drive car. It's because they just don't know about the Renault Megane. Either it's not sold in their market, or they've just completely overlooked it. Now, this is the thing, this is what I hate, is that this is an awesome car, which I feel is just completely underappreciated. Yes, there is a lot of torque steer, but it puts down the power so well. There's no axle tramp, there's a little bit of wheel spin, but really nothing like, for example, the i30N. It just goes. It's so quick and it feels like a sports car. Speaking of, there are 5 different driving modes. You have comfort, neutral, sport, race, and perso, which you might think is French, but I think it just stands for personal. There's 3 ways to change it. Of course, you can change it here with a little button, and you can get the menu up on the screen. You can press RS Drive, which puts the car into sport mode, or you just access it through the screen itself. And it is like, it just changes everything about the car. I, of course, have been driving the car around in perso. That's Italian. In perso. I've been driving around in perso, okay? Here's my Australian accent coming through. But you can change, honest to God, probably more than the i30N. You have the dynamic driving system. I'm pretty sure that means handling. You have ESC, powertrain, exhaust sound, climate control, the display, engine sound design, i.e. how it pumps in sound. I've got it off, of course. And the ambient lighting as well, because yes, the car does come with ambient lighting. In terms of handling, the Megane RS does come with 4-wheel drive steering. And that system is called Full Control. And a lot of journalists have slammed it. They say it's artificial, it's blah, 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 blah. I love it. First of all, at low speeds, it really does help you to maneuver. This thing feels a lot more nimble than it probably should be. And then at higher speeds, it just makes everything feel so like direct. This is a very car journalist thing to say, but it really does follow the camber of the road, the car. If the road is like that, the car is like that. It has to have, again, car journalist term here, but the most go-kart experience I have experienced. Again, not a bad thing. That's what I want out of a hot hatch. I want something insane, stupid, fun. And boy, does this tick all of the boxes. Handling is also aided, by the way, by having a mechanical limited slip differential, which sends power to the wheel with most grip. Now you might think because it handles on a dime and it's just, oh, it's so good. You might think that the suspension is very uncomfortable. Now, yes, it's stiff. And these are passive dampers, meaning they're not like the i30N where you can adjust it. But honestly, it's been totally fine. Yes, you do get some shaking through the cabin because it does feel like a sports car. But around town, especially when you have it in a normal mode, the car just feels so good, even though yes, it's planted, it's not unbearable in any sense of the word. It's actually quite comfortable. In terms of fuel consumption, I've been filming for around about 50 minutes now and I'm getting 15.6 liters per 100 kilometers, which is awful. To be fair, I've been flooring it, just absolutely wringing the neck of this car, but not all the time. Now I will. I'd get in so much trouble if I owned this car. I would get in so much trouble all the time. So is it worth it? What do you think I'm gonna say here, guys? What do you think? The Renault Megane RS starts at 52,990 Australian dollars drive away. And that's for the RS Sport, but it is down on power, it's down on torque, it doesn't come with a limited slip differential, and it doesn't come with a stiffened chassis like the Trophy. Go for the Trophy, and that starts at $60,048 drive away. That is with a manual, and this one here, I spec'd with the EDC and also the liquid yellow paint. That's $63,383 drive away. Now, yes, that is a lot of money, but it's not totally unreasonable. If you get the manual, it is actually $1,200 cheaper than a Civic Type R. In that case, you have a car that matches the performance of a Civic Type R, potentially betters it in some areas like agility. And also listen to this soundtrack. In my opinion, it's also got a nicer interior, but the biggest thing for me is the Civic Type R is super outlandish. For me, I work in professional services. I don't think I would feel comfortable showing up to a client site in a Civic Type R because it does look just very JDM, whereas this is more grown up. It's something that, again, if you don't know much about hot hatches, well, this is the kind of car that you could go completely under the radar in. But then if you know, you know. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please do go down there and hit the subscribe button. I release an awesome new car review like this every single week. And while you're down there, hit the like button and comment. What do you think of the Renault Megane RS? Click over to one of these videos if you want to watch more, especially the i30N review. That one's fun. And I'll see you next Sunday.